It started like any other neighborhood gathering. People milling about in someone's backyard, plastic cups filled with cheap wine, everyone pretending to be closer than they actually were. There was the usual undercurrent of competition, subtle but ever present, each couple silently measuring themselves against the others. Who had the better job? The bigger house? The more enviable life? It was all unspoken, but it lingered in the air like the scent of charcoal from the grill. At first, I barely noticed when the conversation turned to my husband, Mark. It wasn't unusual. He had always been a little awkward in social settings, the kind of man who fumbled his words, laughed at the wrong moments, or told a joke that took just a second too long to land. I had rolled my eyes at him 1,000 times before, exasperated but affectionate. It wasn't a big deal. That night, though, something was different. Maybe it was the wine, warm in my veins, loosening my tongue. Maybe it was the way the others leaned in, their curiosity sharp, their laughter easy. One of the women, a long-time neighbor, chuckled and said, "We love Mark, but his, well, a little different." I should have brushed it off. I should have defended him. But instead, I felt the words slipping out before I could stop them. "Oh, you have no idea," I said, and the group turned to me, eager. "You should see him try to fix things around the house. It's like watching a YouTube tutorial in reverse, everything just ends up worse." Laughter. Not the polite, forced kind, but real, full-bodied laughter. The kind that makes you feel like the funniest person in the room. And just like that, I was hooked. I swear, I went on, emboldened. Sometimes I think Mark was secretly auditioning for America's funniest home videos. More laughter. More encouragement. Like the time he tried to fix the garbage disposal and flooded the entire kitchen. Classic Mark. By then, the whole group was in on it. The men clapped their hands, the women nodded knowingly. Even Karen, the neighbor who had always treated me with thinly veiled condescension, wiped away a tear from laughing so hard. For the first time since moving in, I felt like I belonged. I was winning. And then, I saw him. Mark stood by the grill, flipping burgers, his face carefully blank. Too blank. I should have stopped then. Should have read the warning in the tight set of his jaw, the stiffness in his shoulders. But the laughter was too intoxicating, the attention too rare. And don't even get me started on his sense of direction, I added, grinning. Mark could get lost in his own driveway. He's got this app now that's supposed to help, but half the time he argues with it. Like, no, I know a better way. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. Another round of laughter rippled through the group. Someone wiped at their eyes, shaking their head. And then, Mark set down the spatula. At first, I thought he was just grabbing something, but then he walked toward us, each step slow and deliberate. The laughter died, the air shifting like a storm rolling in. He stopped right in front of me, and when he spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. Funny stuff, huh? His eyes locked onto mine, unwavering. I opened my mouth, but no words came. "You know what's really funny?" he continued, his voice even but edged with something I couldn't quite name. "Spending 15 years trying to make someone happy, only to find out you're the punchline at a backyard barbecue." Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. I forced a laugh, trying to wave it off. "Oh, come on, Mark. We were just joking." But he didn't smile. Didn't laugh. Didn't soften. "Here's a joke for you, Clara," he said, his voice like a blade. "It's over. For good. You can tell your little audience how funny that is." It felt like the ground had been ripped out from beneath me. My skin went hot, then cold. My throat tightened. What?" I stammered, but he was already turning away. Without another word, he grabbed his jacket, walked through the side gate, and disappeared into the night. The party ended in an instant. People muttered excuses, avoided my eyes, scattered like startled birds. By the time I half-heartedly cleaned up the mess, my phone was already buzzing with texts. "Are you okay? Wow, that was intense." But nothing from Mark. And that's when it hit me. He wasn't coming back. I sat on the couch, my hands limp in my lap, replaying the night over and over. The laughter. The jokes. The look in his eyes when he said those words. I had never thought about how deep the knife had gone, until it was too late. I must have drifted into a restless sleep because I woke to a stiff neck and a pounding head. Not a hangover, just the weight of everything settling in. The house was eerily quiet. Too quiet. And then I noticed it. Mark's keys weren't on the hook by the door. That hook had been his ritual. Every night, without fail, he'd come home, hang them up, and say, "Made it through another one." But today, the hook was empty. Something else caught my eye. A single piece of paper, folded neatly, tucked beneath the remote. My heart pounded as I picked it up, unfolding it with trembling fingers. "Clara, I'll pick up the rest of my things when I figure out where I'm going. Please don't call me. I need space. You've made your feelings clear. Mark." The words stung like a slap. Not just the message, but the realization that he had actually left. For a moment, I considered calling him, but then pride reared its head. He was overreacting, right? People joke about their spouses all the time. That's what I told myself as I numbly brewed a pot of coffee, staring out the window, trying, desperately, to convince myself that everything would be okay. I wasn't the villain in this story. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. But no matter how much I tried to push the thought away, the truth gnawed at me, relentless and unyielding. I could still see his face, hear the way his voice cracked when he said, 15 years. I didn't know what hurt more, watching him walk away or realizing, too late, that I had never seen it coming. By mid-morning, the messages started again. Karen, ever the nosy neighbor, was first. "Clara, just checking in. That was something last night. Hope you're okay." Then Jennifer, another neighbor, chimed in. "Clara, I feel awful. Do you want to talk? Maybe grab lunch?" Even Karen's husband, Dale, sent a message. "Mark's a good guy. Hope you two work things out. Let me know if I can help." They all meant well, I suppose. But each message felt like a spotlight shining directly on my failure, forcing me to look at the mess I had made. And just when I thought I couldn't feel worse, Karen sent another text, this time with a photo attached. Mark, sitting alone in a coffee shop, his expression unreadable. He wasn't hunched over, drowning in sorrow. He wasn't angry, either. He just looked resigned, like someone who had already made up his mind. My first instinct was to throw my phone across the room, to scream, to cry. But I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I just stared at the image, my fingers gripping the edges of the screen as if holding onto it tightly enough might somehow change what I was seeing. Mark's absence hit me harder than I ever expected. It wasn't just the space he left behind, it was the sinking realization that something between us had been broken long before he walked out. By lunchtime, I was pacing the living room, my thoughts tangled in knots. When had things gotten so bad? Our marriage was never perfect, but it had always been ours. We weren't the couple who posted sappy anniversary messages on social media or called each other pet names in public, but that never mattered before. We had something real, didn't we? Yet, as I tried to recall the last time we had a real conversation, something deeper than schedules, grocery lists, or bills, I came up empty. It had been months. Maybe even longer. Somewhere between the routine of daily life and my habit of venting about him to my friends, I had stopped seeing Mark as someone who could be hurt. But now, I had finally pushed him past his breaking point. I called him. No answer. I waited an hour before texting. "I'm sorry. Can we please talk?" No reply. Another hour passed. "I'm not okay. I need to hear from you." Still nothing. By 4 p.m., the coffee pot was empty, and my nerves were shot. I found myself typing desperate searches into Google. What to do when your husband leaves? How to fix a marriage after screwing up? I stumbled onto a forum filled with women going through separations. Their stories mirrored my own: confusion, regret, heartbreak. But one comment stood out, burrowing into my mind like a splinter. You can't fix it if they don't want to be fixed. But you can show them you're willing to try. So I tried. I drove to the coffee shop where Karen had seen him. I didn't have a plan. I just thought maybe Maybe, if I saw him, if I could say something, I could make him come back. But when I arrived, he was already gone. The barista behind the counter barely glanced up when I asked. "Oh, him? Yeah, he left about an hour ago. Didn't say much." I left feeling more lost than before. My next stop was Tom's house, Mark's brother. If anyone could talk some sense into him, it was Tom. But when I arrived, he just shook his head. "What the hell happened, Clara?" he asked, arms crossed as he leaned against the doorframe. "It was a stupid fight," I said, my voice cracking. "Not even a fight, just teasing. Like I always do. I didn't think it would hurt him." Tom didn't laugh. "You're not everyone, Clara. You're his wife." That night, I sat alone in our bedroom, surrounded by remnants of him. His pillow, untouched. His clothes, still hanging in the closet. A half-empty bottle of his cologne on the dresser. The house felt different, off balance, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for him to walk back through the door. I kept thinking about his note. "You made your feelings clear." The words echoed in my mind, over and over, until I finally fell into a restless sleep. I wasn't angry anymore. Just scared. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't something that could be fixed with a simple apology. I had broken something. And I had no idea how to repair it. The next morning, I woke with a single realization. Mark wasn't coming back, unless I gave him a reason to. I swallowed my pride and drove to his office, rehearsing what I would say the entire way there. But when I arrived, his assistant only shook her head. "He hasn't been in all week." That's when it hit me. Mark wasn't just taking a break from me. He was stepping away from his entire life. Days passed. Then, a letter arrived. Not a text. Not an email. A letter, his familiar handwriting slanting across the page. I read it once. Then twice. "Clara, I've been staying with a friend, thinking things through." I keep replaying that night, but the truth is, it wasn't just about the jokes. It was about something bigger. Somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing me as your partner. I don't know exactly when it happened. Maybe you don't either. But I felt it. And once I did, I couldn't unfeel it. I can't be the guy you laugh at to feel better about yourself. I deserve more than that. And honestly, so do you. I've decided to file for divorce. It's not an easy decision, but it feels like the right one. I hope we can handle this respectfully. Take care. Mark. The words crushed me. My first instinct was to argue, to beg, to fight. But deep down, I knew he was right. I had spent so much time nitpicking his flaws, so much time venting about him to other people, that I had forgotten what it meant to love someone fully, flaws and all. That night, I sat in the empty house and let myself feel it all. The regret. The shame. The loneliness. I wanted to hate him for giving up on us. But I couldn't. Because if I was being honest, I had given up first. The divorce was quick, quiet. We had no children, no major assets to fight over. Mark moved into a small apartment a few towns over, and I stayed in the house. Eventually, people stopped bringing it up. Life moved on. Sometimes, I'd see him at the grocery store or driving past. He always looked content. Not happy, exactly, but at peace. And it hurt to know that he had found that peace without me. It's been a year now. I'm still figuring things out. Therapy has helped, unpacking what went wrong, understanding how I let myself become someone who took love for granted. The truth is, Mark leaving was the wake-up call I never knew I needed. I miss him every day. But I also know he did the right thing. Because sometimes, the only way to save yourself is to walk away from someone who's already let you go.